I am that guy with the big head, and not just a cheap Jay Leno sketch ripoff. I can see throughout time and space, and I see several versions of the formerly angry final nerd, or as he is known to you, Brian Heinz. Let us look on several of these planets. In the House of B, Brian is the world's preeminent comic book reviewer. Some say it's because Brian didn't switch schools in 3rd grade, maintained his original popularity, and now his audience picks up on that confidence.
Alright, listen up, you bastards. Disney Comics to bomb. Read it!
But mostly he's popular because Minnesota was destroyed in a giant ant invasion and this Earth never saw the rise of Linkara. While in the House of H, Brian is one of the world's most popular reviewers of sugar. Since the entire world was conquered in the giant ant invasion, this is the only type of show the ants like.
And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, I drink this sugar sweet. Tune in next week when I review a magnifying glass. Alright, it'll be more sugar.
Finally, in the House of BS, a mirror universe much like our own, Brian is a mildly popular comic book reviewer with aspirations of film riffing and Doctor Who reaction videos. Also, alas, there was no giant ant invasion. This is indeed a disturbing universe. The world was conquered by giant praying mantises. Just know that wherever you are, you may have a double out there in the multiverse with a much better or worse life than your own. I'm not really sure what this has to do with anything, but enjoy the show. Or don't. I am forbidden to interfere.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, Brian Heinz. Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism to the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years, but every so often, your film franchise reverts back to its original owners and the House of Mouse gives the okay to relaunch your comic book empire. What has been happening with the X-Men for the last few decades? Way back in 2005, Marvel did one of its better events with the House of M, where we saw an alternate universe under the control of Magneto. Since then, we've had a run of good X-Men books, like Jason Aaron's Wolverine and the X-Men, or Peter David's X-Factor, but after which the tides turned when Marvel was bought out by Disney and the Marvel film universe became a profit juggernaut. Since Fox held the rights to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, both of these franchises suffered in the comic book world, with the X-Men especially having become the red-headed stepkids of the Marvel universe, with subpar books being written and drawn by C-list creators in recent years. Well, after a long wait and the announcement that the X-Men are going to be part of the future MCU, Disney has said all's forgiven and Marvel super writer Jonathan Hickman is relaunching the Mutant-verse. All Mutant titles have been canceled and are being relaunched after he finishes 2 complementary series, Powers of X and House of X. But how? How is he relaunching the Marvel Universe? Well, as it turns out, by bringing back a longtime supporting character to the Marvel U, and a revelation that changes everything. And I mean everything. We're going to explore that right now as I review House of X number 2, written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Pepe Larraz. Moira McTaggart is born in Scotland. She marries, has a family, becomes a teacher, and dies. Then, Moira McTaggart is born again, literally, with full memories of her first life. Moira is a mutant whose power is reincarnation. Realizing her knowledge of her past life is changing her choices and relationships, she goes to Oxford and studies biology to learn more about herself, meeting fellow student Charles Xavier in passing. Later, when he declares himself a mutant, she flies to America for a more in-depth meeting when her plane crashes. Moira McTaggart is born again, a third time. Now feeling that her powers are a curse and Xavier too much of an egomaniac, she delves into ending mutation, developing a cure, but this attracts the attention of Destiny and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They destroy her lab and laugh when she says that the cure is only for those who want it. Sooner or later, humanity will force the cure on mutant kind, wiping them out. Destiny explains that since she can see the future, she'll know whenever Moira decides to work against mutant kind, and they will kill her.
She also explains Moira is vulnerable. If she dies before her mutation kicks in at puberty, she won't reincarnate. Destiny also tells her that Moira doesn't have unlimited lives. She'll live 10 lifetimes, possibly 11. Then Pyro burns her alive.
I've had it worse. Hey, it's a little known fact that I've been living a life a la Groundhog's Day. I keep reincarnating after many, many horrible deaths. This one time I was drawn and quartered. By horses? Yamahas. Another time I was dipped in acid. You were burned alive? Well, technically I drowned first. I was dipped in by my feet. This one time, a short movie reviewer turned on me and let a film studio executive blow me. The gods of copyright say nay! Death by censorship. I'm a martyr. You're a loony.
Moira McTaggart is born. She falls in with Xavier, but this time encourages his dream for mutant-human coexistence, falling in love with him along the way. Living her life with him, his X-Men, and eventually dying in a Sentinel-controlled future that wipes out the mutant race. Moira McTaggart is born a 5th time. She runs away from home and finds a much younger Xavier. She lets him read her mind and he sees the death of his dream. He starts sooner, builds a city for mutants, but again the Sentinels come and destroy it all. Moira McTaggart is born. She spends her 7th life eradicating the Trask family, the family that continually creates and releases the Sentinels onto the world.
At last, my greatest invention, the ballpoint pen. Writing can now be a much quicker, cheaper endeavor. Why?
Because ballpoint pens will be used to sign the contracts for atomic weapons.
Woohoo! I saved the world! Fair enough. Oh.
Unfortunately, the Trasks aren't the important part of the equation. Sooner or later, the level of technology along with fear of the mutants always leads to the creation of Sentinels. Moira just can't avert their rise. Embittered by this life, she dies at the hands of a new version of Sentinel. Moira McTaggart is born, and decides the survival of mutant kind lies with a more dangerous leader. She finds Magneto and tells him her story. He rages against the world, but is eventually taken down by mutant and non-mutant heroes alike. Moira dies in prison.
Now that I've finally reincarnated with a Scottish accent, I'm ready to set my life right, become the idol of millions on the internet, and found a really awesome place for us all to work, based on equality and cross-promotion.
Well, that's fine, but I've almost finished entombing you alive a la cask of Amontillado.
Ugh, I'm bad at this.
Yes. Moira McTaggart is born. Realizing that Destiny's predicted number of lives is running out, she takes the nuclear option and empowers Apocalypse with her future knowledge, becoming one of his horsemen. She dies in a war against humanity. Moira McTaggart is born, a 10th time. What might be her final life, and she decides it's time to get really revolutionary. She meets Charles Xavier. She opens her mind to him, and he now knows everything. The remainder of the book contains a timeline for all of Moira's lives, except the missing 6th timeline, which will no doubt be important to the conclusion of the House of X, Powers of X story.
Let's be honest, a lot of times retcons on characters don't work, as it feels like the writer's just trying to shoehorn them into his story. But making Moira a mutant actually serves the story and gives us a point of focus across these 2 books.
Let's take a closer look at House of X, Issue 2. Just to get it out of the way, the art here is phenomenal. Pepe Larraz should walk out of this book a superstar. There's truly no justice in the world. He does great scenery, expressions, drawing people of different ages. The action looks amazing. Even a simple scene set in a bar is visually interesting. The story itself is fascinating. In modern Marvel continuity, Moira's been dead for years. Having studied the legacy virus, a mutant-only killing disease, for an intense period of time, she became the first human to contract it and die. Although now, knowing she was a mutant all along, that changes everything. The 4th life Moira lives seems closest to continuity. The relationship with Xavier and so many mutant milestones. Classic X-Men to all new, all different X-Men to the AVX Phoenix-infused team, except she doesn't have her own mutant son Proteus in this reality, nor does she die of the virus. Is the 6th life the one Moira lived in the past X-Men books? Time will tell. This story now explains why the X-Men are all living on an island lashing out at the world, when the last time we saw them they were all scattered. Moira is rewritten time. I'd at first thought that Xavier was in fact X. Charles Xavier now possessing Phantom X's body that was established in Astonishing X-Men. But this is the new reality Xavier, one permanently plugged into Cerebro. House of X shows us an even worse present for the X-Men as various forces are trying to destroy them now that mutants have a solid power base on the island Krakoa, formerly Genosha, while Powers of X shows us an even worse future than Days of Future Past, as the last members of the mutant race are going to war with the Nimrod Sentinel as artificial life looks to unburden itself of the mutant race and evolve into the supreme power of the universe.
Hickman's story is playing for high stakes, and he's hinged it all on a woman who's been present for most of mutant history while never being a part of it. This change to Moira now makes her one of the most important persons in mutant history. In some ways, Hickman is doing a greatest hits with the X-Men. They're all living on an island, like when they were on Utopia Island in Matt Fraction's Uncanny Run. A Sentinel-ridden dystopian future, like in Days of Future Past. But he's upped the stakes, and everything is so much worse for the mutants now. I'd argued the first issues of House and Powers hurt from the lack of a sympathetic mutant protagonist. But now we've got Moira. A woman doomed to see her race fall again and again, but willing to do anything to give that next time around a fighting chance. Hickman's upped the ante so much it feels like either the mutants survive this time or they're done for good. Although, considering the plethora of titles coming out after House of X and Power of X wrap, they'll probably survive. I give House of X issue 2 4 out of 5 stars. Even if you only read it on its own, this single issue holds up as a solo read, as well as building into Hickman's ongoing story. And with fantastic art by Pepe Larraz, you're not going to be bored looking at it. Well, that's it, my friends. Damn non-stop diet of cheesesteaks with extra mayo taking its toll. See you next time on Comic Book. Ugh. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, Brian Heinz. Mutation. Wow. Deja vu.